Welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways. I'm trying to wait for enough light to get in to actually do a video. We're still dealing with the California fires, the smoke. I talked to some vehicle maintenance people and some contractors while I was traveling, trying to get out of the smoke, which is now covering like 8 states. And yeah, actually, no vehicle maintenance. Some parts of California, they didn't check the vehicle. Like, the vehicles haven't even been visually checked since March. No prevention. Man, it's amazing. Anyway, not the topic. Right now, I had a reply on one of my previous videos, one where I talked about the myth of the mental illness, homeless problem. And homelessness is a thing that we actually do talk about quite a lot in my circles because, it's part of living on the edges of society. And there are a lot of people who are homeless in a specific and deliberate fashion. It's not all, people on the streets in the throes of drug addictions, withdrawals. There are people who function pretty well, and there are people who just, they're never going to function well in a regular society. And well, let's deal with the comment. The comment was, people that want or need a home should have the opportunity. To disregard a basic human necessity shouldn't be allowed by a society that pretends to ignore the issue. So this comment has enough going on that it warranted an entire video. People that want or need a home should have the opportunity. I think that everybody in America has an opportunity to have a place to live. Now, when you get to home, you have to deal with, are we talking about home ownership? Are we talking about rentals? Are we talking about forcing people into rentals? Are we talking about projects? What are we talking about? Homelessness in the United States, I don't know where to go with this one. I don't know how to express this one. Homelessness in the United States is, to some extent, a choice. And I hate to phrase it that way because people are going to hammer on me about situations you can't control, or these people can't do this or that thing. But we have an endless number of programs, federal, state, local, charity, government, more government than you can imagine. And you have to... Now, I'm not saying that everyone has the ability to deal with government bureaucracy. I walk a very fine line of not being able to. And right now, this stage of my life, I managed to keep it all together. I've got 17 different tax papers I have to do next week, and this and that, and doing okay with it. But it's not... It doesn't suit me. It is not something that I'm very good at or tolerant of. So I understand saying, hey, not everyone can deal with that. Not everyone can deal with the idea of moving to a place where they can afford to live. Not everyone can deal with the idea of living in circumstances that they don't like. I have met people who would rather actually sleep in a park than deal with renting an apartment that they don't like that doesn't meet their standard of what a home is. I have met many social workers. I live in a rural area, and I have a lot of friends with alternative lifestyles, and I've met my share of social workers who think that you must live a specific San Francisco suburb lifestyle, or it doesn't qualify. You are homeless if you live on a piece of land in a house you built if it doesn't have 120 volt electricity. Like, if you use 12 volt DC for lights and you just don't watch TV, it doesn't count. It's homeless. Like, there are people who can't accept different living conditions. So when we get to the first part of this comment here, people that want or need a home should have the opportunity. I think everyone has the opportunity. I think we're there. Okay? I think that we have people who have an inability to make use of opportunities, and you can only go so far with that before you get into some really weird and coercive space. You can force people. You can pull the 1984, hey, it's 2020, this is 1984, and force people, to march in lockstep and do exactly the one thing that you want them to do to get a home. I don't think that's a good idea. To disregard a basic human necessity shouldn't be allowed by a society that pretends to ignore the issue. I'm going to ignore the pretends to ignore the issue because the sentence doesn't make sense like that. But to disregard a basic human necessity. Let's talk about that for a moment, okay? Is a home a basic human necessity? The vast majority of you would say yes. But through most of history, the answer has been no. So it's not a survival necessity. Shelter, like not freezing to death or burning to death, is a human necessity. It's a necessity for life. But what does that actually mean? Does that actually mean a home? And the answer is no. We still have nomadic cultures in the world. We still have nomadic cultures in the United States. So what is a home? I know people for whom this right here, this is my truck, is a home. I've met a couple people who live in a truck without a camper shell. Most people would have a camper shell at least, okay? But, is a bardo a home? Is a tent a home? Do you actually... I've met a couple people who've slept on the beach for extensive periods of time. There's Hawaii and San Diego. And do you need a home? Is it a physical necessity? In San Diego, it's not. It really isn't. It's one of the reasons the traditional homeless population is so large out there in the canyons, is that you really don't. So, is it a necessity? Don't think so. Is it a good, the next question is it good? And the answer to that question is, I don't know. Security, stability, the ability to be stress-free is good. But that comes as much from inside as it does from outside, and I don't know. Do homes make people more or less sane, more or less healthy? I know for a fact, personal experience, and lots of research that many homes make people sick. These are really important questions here. When you start to look at it, you need to take that sideways view. Is it a basic human necessity? Now, progressives that I know would argue that housing is a human right. They're so divorced from history and humanity and nomadic lifestyles or whatever that they actually consider the projects to be better than the alternative. I've known many homeless people, intentionally homeless people. Usually this is van dwellers because they've gotten out and gotten up in terms of their lifestyle, who came from projects and said no. You think of projects only as black democratic things, and they're not. There are projects with white people in them too. They're mostly democratic, keep black people down ideas, but projects exist all over. And people escape them. Black, white, whatever, brown, doesn't matter. People escape projects, and sometimes they go into nomadic, homeless, professionally homeless communities, and they feel much, much better. They're vastly more free. So, is guaranteeing a home necessarily a positive? I would say that when you get to this idea that society must provide everyone with a home no matter what, and that society is going to provide it, you're going to end up with shit like projects that's no good. Not good for people. Not humane. I think that's a problem. I think that's a real problem. So, people that want or need a home should have the opportunity. They do. I'm going to argue that they do. That where you come, okay, you don't change the entire structure of the nation because of a fringe case in this context, okay? This isn't a case of protecting a fringe liberty. This is a case of fringe people who can't make use of opportunity. The opportunity is there. There's like 1/10% of the country just cannot cope with the opportunities that are there. You can handle that. You handle that on an individual basis. That's why we do charities, actually. Charities are granular as opposed to government programs, which are not. So, and to disregard a basic human necessity, which may or may not be a necessity, well, the opportunity is there. But you also have to allow the opportunity for people to live on the edges. You need to allow the opportunity for people to have a different choice, a different viewpoint, a different idea. Do they want a traditional home? Honestly, I don't like it. So I don't do it. Stay sideways. Have a good one.